pro boxing fans here with a very slim Eddie Hearn. Eddie, I've not seen you for a couple of weeks, but it looks like you shed some proper timber there.
Yeah, it's been over the last 6 months or so, really. It's funny because I think I said to you earlier that I found out that I'm lighter than Frank Smith right now, so I'm still a long way from the cruiserweight limit, but feeling good, mate, feeling good.
Good stuff, good stuff. Let's talk about why we're here in Cardiff. One of your guys that you've sort of invested your time to a long time ago in Joe Cordina finally got that opportunity. How much did it take, or did you envisage it happening like this? Because we've seen the other Olympians go through the ranks. Lawrence Okoli, world champion. People have sort of moved on quite quickly. Joe was always never that name at the top. Why did it take a little bit longer with Joe?
I think, a lot of it is down to injury. He was out for nearly a year with a broken hand. But Joe's an exceptional talent. I think this is his moment. It's a very difficult fight. It's a tremendous fight, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. But this is the kind of fight where you win a world title and you deserve to win a world title. Ogawa is a good champion. The problem for Joe is he's not boxed at this level before. He's good enough to, but he just hasn't. So to do that for the world title means you've just got to get it right on the night. He's good enough to do it, but I really feel like it's going to be a tremendous fight because Ogawa is very tough. He's rough. He punches very hard as well. And, it's all on Joe. This is it. And I like the pressure he's putting on himself to win.
He talks well, very confident. He spoke really well in that press conference.
He did. And I think, he's a guy that believes in himself. He's a guy that knows boxing inside out. And he's a guy that's been calling for this shot. He doesn't want to mess around. He believes he's good enough to win a world title. He wants to make the money, be in those big fights. And there's plenty of big fights in the division. And it's a life-changing moment for him. And he's got that opportunity. It's here. Like he said in the press, I can see it, I can touch it. It's so close for me now. But you've got to go and deliver on the night.
You've got sort of a situation here where you had Joe and Zelfa Barrett standing next to each other, which potentially could be a fight made very, very soon if both fighters win. How great is that for you as a promoter, promoting both guys? If they win on Saturday night, potentially you could be seeing that fight soon?
Yeah, of course. It's a massive fight for Britain, Cardiff versus Manchester for a world title. But both guys, even Zelfa's got a very tough fight on Saturday. Korbanov had a good fight with Joe Cordina. He's gone on to win the European title. Zelfa's challenging for the European title, but if he can win and look good, then and Joe can win, of course that sets up a nice fight between two Brits for the world title. So we'll see. There's also Rakimov, who's a mandatory. Look, Shakur Stevenson could be an undisputed fight. Like I said, it's life-changing and it's must win for Joe Cordina. On
the top table, you also had Dalton Smith, somebody who's impressing for sure. When I look on social media after he fights, a lot of people are tuned in. He's impressive. How quick do you want to move him onto that Lonsdale belt type?
He's ready for the Lonsdale. Look, the board ordered him against Sam Maxwell. Sam vacated and went on, fought for the IBL, I think, and lost that fight. Now they've ordered Akeem Ennis-Brown, which we're talking about. He's got an injury. I'm not saying he doesn't want the fight, but they look at Dalton Smith and think he's good. He's really good, and I think this is a world-class fighter. And these kind of fights are good for him because, like Joe, you've got to stay active in this moment, and you've got to keep developing. And Peroni's a tough kid, but Dalton will have too much for him. But good to get the experience in the rounds because sooner or later, Dalton Smith's going to be diving in like Joe Cordina. And at 140 pounds, it's a very, very tough division. So we're going to see him in action on Saturday. But I really believe Dalton Smith is one of the top fighters in the world already.
Another one, Skye Nicholson, obviously on the top table this time around. Fourth fight in, very, very quickly. The numbers are going about very quickly, 91 days, 4 fights. How quick do you want to move her forward?
Well, she came up, a lot of these fighters have made the move from Australia to the UK. It's a big ask for them. So when they do it, they're serious. And the one thing she wanted was activity. She's had that, she's boxed in America twice, she's boxed in the UK twice. The aim was to have 3 fights and then go home to Australia and probably box in Australia later in the year. She's now, luckily for her, having 4 fights, but she's boxed well and she's impressed. So this is a different kind of fight for her because this is over 8 rounds and this is against a former world champion. So I expect this to be a much tougher test for her, but you just evaluate every time you go. If she comes through this, which I expect her to, I think she's ready for championship fights in September. And she can move on to hopefully challenge for a world title in early 2023. But an exceptional talent and very important fighter to us as we look to move into the Australian market as well.
Cool. Obviously, a lot of people are giving you props for what you're doing with female boxing. And that was something that Leonard Ellerbe actually alluded to whilst he was having a rant with you. I'm sure you've seen it, the Showtime clip, where he's done the interview with Brian Costa. It's gone viral now, to be honest. Said you're doing great work for the females, but he said a lot of other things at the same time. I think a lot of it was with the interview that I did with you a couple of weeks ago, well, a week ago, and a lot of the quotes are quite similar, so I'm sure they've had a look at it. But yeah, I'm sure you've had a look at that Showtime interview. What did you make of that?
I thought it was good. I mean, I think it was about 7 minutes, wasn't it? So to get someone, doesn't matter, Leonard or anyone, talking about me on Showtime for 7 minutes, I see that. I'm a bit different to a lot of people. Some people might look at that and get offended. I look at that and it really, it turns me on. You know, it does. I look at that and I just think, I love that. That's so good. But he says at the start of the interview, I don't want to talk about Eddie Hearn. And the whole interview was 7 minutes about Eddie Hearn. You know, he said, I want to keep it professional. But then he says he wants to stomp me out. Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. But I think I'm helping him a lot as well. And if he can help me in America, I think it's good for everyone. And when I say, obviously, I'm 100 times bigger than Leonard Ellerbe, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but by me talking about Leonard Ellerbe, he's helping Leonard Ellerbe. And by him talking about me on Showtime for 7 minutes, that's helping me. But to some people, they get too caught up in the personal stuff, and he can't really overcome that. So it is what it is.
How do we squash this beef? Or do we get you both in the ring, do a bit of a charity thing? Well, how is this going to end?
I can't really fight, so that probably won't end very well for me. But he's welcome. I mean, I spoke to him once on the phone. Someone passed me the phone once, and he was quite rude. And he said he knows people in New York because I was in New York. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And just said, "Go away," and that was it. But he's got my number. He can phone me anytime he wants. I have no problem having a conversation with him, but it don't sound great at the minute. But listen, he talks, he wants to threaten me with stuff like that. No problem.
One thing he did say was obviously Canelo's moved over to an app. I do want to ask you though, with DAZN, is there that limit though? Because we see with Showtime they do other sports. Sky Sports, you've got Sky Sports News, and you were the one that was promoting Sky Sports News a lot when your fighters were on there. BT, same thing. Is DAZN very limited at this present time?
They're so short-sighted. DAZN are doing better numbers than Showtime on a weekly basis for their show, right? The pay-per-view numbers for Canelo, over 600,000 buys, right? Do you know how good that is for a Dimitri Bivol fight? The Caleb Plant fight did 700,000 buys. And that was an undisputed fight against an American. The numbers are fantastic, but people want to play with the truth and say, yeah, but it's an app. Netflix is a fucking app, you dope. Right? I mean, these people, they just don't understand. And by the way, when we talk about having other sports, what do you think? DAZN don't have other sports? Look at the resume of rights globally. This is a huge, huge business who are massively invested in the sport of boxing. So DAZN are in a tremendous place. It's about, and Canelo, by the way, it's about, Canelo, his reputation or his stock has gone down since he's been boxing on DAZN. Do they not realise that he boxed Daniel Jacobs, Sergey Kovalev, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, all on DAZN? He spent 2 years fighting on DAZN and came back and boxed on Fox pay-per-view. So, what? I mean, anyway. But we're in a great place. And, I think Canelo Alvarez will fight Triple G on September 17th, and it'll be the biggest fight in the boxing. And it will do absolutely massive numbers.
Do you feel like, in that interview he did say that you're doing nothing in the American market, which is, I'm paraphrasing, but that was what he was alluding to. Do you feel like you could have done more? Because when I spoke to you initially, Devin Haney was your star. He was supposed to be the star, this American star. He's not with you at this present time for this one fight. People look at that and say he's not with Eddie for this one fight. He'll come back to you at some point, maybe. But do you feel like you've still not found that one big star that you've wanted?
I've signed a guy called Canelo Alvarez. You might know him. He's the pound-for-pound number one in the sport. I mean, I've promoted Canelo Alvarez's last 4 fights. I'm about to do the 5th fight for Canelo Alvarez. People listen, what's he done in America? I broke the attendance record at Dallas Cowboys with Canelo Alvarez against Billy Joe Saunders. I boxed Canelo Alvarez 3 times in 9 months to help him on the way to the Undisputed Championship. We're coming off incredible events. We've got the card of the year coming up in June. You've got September, you've got Canelo against Triple G. It's probably the biggest fight in American boxing. You can't do much more. Now, is there an American star coming through that's doing big numbers? By the way, I just filled up Madison Square Garden. That's in America. That's in New York for the biggest female fight of all time. When people said that won't sell, I mean, like, we're doing more than all these people. So you talk about Leonard and those guys. They've got one fighter. One fighter. I think they've done a good job with Tank. He's an exceptional fighter. But you look at what we're doing globally and in America. Has America been tougher to crack? Yeah. But do you not see the landscape of everyone wanting us to fail? So when we come in, and this is like they all talk to each other. It's basically like whatever we can do to keep Eddie out, we've got to work together to do it. But do you know how horny that is? Like that's like, if you were no good, if you were a clown, do you think they'd even bother? It's like we have to set up a and by the way, when I did this in America, in the UK, there's a very famous picture of Frank Warren, Frank Maloney, Ricky Hatton, and Barry McGuigan. These are 4 people that hated each other, right? And when I got the exclusive deal on Sky, they all got together and they all put their hands in the middle, right? All like this, right? To say, united front. And all that was about was trying to stop me. About a month later, they never spoke to each other again. And this is just history repeating itself. It's just, I'm 3 years in to America, not even 3 years in, off a standing start with a new broadcaster and a new brand. And I'm breaking records. I've got the pound for pound #1. You know, we've got huge following with the Hispanic market. We've got Card of the Year coming up in June. I just broke the attendance record and the sales record at Madison Square Garden for the biggest female fight of all time. Like, we're doing okay. But these people aren't going to stop us, and they can be united as they want, because it's only going one way.
There's 2 final questions for myself. Your good friend, Dana White, spoke about...
He's a good friend.
He is a good friend, I know he is.
You know why? Because Dana White, right, everyone's got their faults. I have plenty. But Dana White is okay. Dana White knows the business. Dana White, and we make mistakes, but Dana White knows how good we are. And when you peel back all these people's businesses in boxing, they like go away, and I know you can't do it in America, but look at the business, look at the structure of the business, look at the financials of the business. They're all too bob. And Dana White knows that Matchroom is a proper business. People talk about they don't know the US market. I'm a Brit. We're learning the US market. I think we've done tremendously well. Long way to go. But he knows the structure of the business. He knows how we operate. And I'm a big supporter of the UFC. And he's a big supporter of Matchroom.
That's what he said. He said that basically there was talks about him entering boxing under Zuffa Boxing. And recently he's gone to some conference and said, listen, boxing's broken. It's a mess. People are overpaid. Just can't get into it. There's no way. It's too broken for his liking. What do you make of that?
I think boxing is broken. I think boxing's been broken for years. It's an absolutely mental business with a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing. I mean, boxing is, there are no barriers in boxing where anyone without any ability in the world can walk into the sport and become a manager, a promoter, an agent. And it's mental, but it's a lot of fun, you know. And I think it's the greatest sport in the world. Some fighters are vastly overpaid. Some fighters are underpaid. All right? Everyone deserves to be paid because it's a very tough sport. So, but for Dana comes from a model where you have control, and it's very difficult to have control in boxing because of the politics, because of other promoters, because of other broadcasters. And I think I'm very envious of Dana in that position where he can sit there and go, right, you are fighting you. On that date, see you there. Yeah. That just doesn't happen in boxing. It's months of negotiation. It's he's talking to him. He don't like him. That network's coming in for an offer. It's a complete mess. But, you know, that's why you don't want to do it for too long. Because you see these guys, I keep alluding to it, like it's horrible. And I don't blame these guys, Leonard and Frank and Bob. It will turn you bitter because it's horrible. But you just got to smile and know that one day we'll walk away, but we'll miss it because it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Just a final one. Anthony Joshua Alexander Usyk still hasn't officially been announced. We've been told July 23rd is the date. Is that still going to be the date, or are we going to maybe look at it being pushed into August at some point?
I think, you know, July 23rd is 7 weeks away. There's no problem with the fight. It's just time, you know. So we're talking at the moment, literally today, tonight, about whether that falls 2 or 3 weeks later, because it might help everyone on media tours and broadcast deals and sponsorship deals. It's a massive fight. So it doesn't really matter. Like, the delay doesn't matter. I just feel like it might give everyone more time to prepare for the, like, we're going to have to fly around, do this media tour, you know. They're going to have to, you know, tie up the broadcast deals, etc. So we'll see. But one way or the other, you will get an announcement next week.
Cool. Eddie Hearn, thank you so much for talking to me.